on the commercial here right before I came back on air, and she's just a fantastic musician, and you can catch her every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Archie's Seabreeze. Y'all know Archie's. It's in Fort Pierce. No shoes, no shirt, no problem. Lots of fun there. That's Susie Nash. Up next, I have our chair of Martin County Commission, Harold Jenkins, in the studio, and we're going to be talking about a really important issue. It's about affordable housing, and Harold just coming in with the traffic here and stuff here on Wednesday, but super important issue. We just had a candidate that is actually running for Harold's seat, and that's one thing we didn't touch on was the affordable housing issue. So I think it's really important. That's something that is on everybody's mind right now. And Commissioner Jenkins, you're one of everybody talks about it, but you actually are coming up with a plan to address it. So I'm very excited to have you in the studio. For those of you who don't know, Southern Martin County is represented by Commissioner Harold Jenkins, and it includes Hobe Sound as well as a portion of Tequesta and Indiantown. Commissioner Jenkins is the current chairman of the Martin County Board of Commissioners and is serving his second term as commissioner. So, first of all, Commissioner Jenkins, you've announced at the taxpayer dinner last week you are not running again.
I am not running again. I think it's, I'll be 64, and I've had some interesting health challenges lately that are being resolved. But at the same time, when you start looking at your mortality and your family promises of how you're going to retire and actually do things. So it's the appropriate time. I'll be put in 8 years. I think I accomplished. I'm very happy with what my public service has been, and it's the appropriate time. So.
Well, I know from the bottom of my heart and a lot of constituents, we really appreciate the work you've done. And I've known Commissioner Jenkins when you came in as a Meet Your candidate, a little over 8 years ago. And there's been a lot of issues tackled over those 8 years. And I think I want to get into the affordable housing, but my goodness, one thing from the discussions you and I have had off air is what all there is to learn, and the responsibilities of a commissioner are just it's not as easy as it looks on watching MCTV, right?
It's like drinking from a fire hose. It really was. And the, I hate to use the word, ignorance that I had of all the things I could do and all the changes I could make, and this, and then when you're sitting in the seat and you're going, no, you can't do that. No, we're preempted from the state from that. No, there's, it's like, it was kind of amazing of how much I didn't understand. And I went to every, I got the 3 levels of state certification from the Florida Association of Counties, trying to get an education on how to understand, what and to be an effective commissioner. So, anyway, so I'm happy with where I'm at. I think I'm leaving in a good place. I've built the one major thing that is regretful but not an excuse to run again, because I somewhat do believe I have mixed emotions on the term limit thing that you asked your previous guy. But one of the things is all the relationships I've built. As we all get older, that circle of friends gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right.
Then I had an opportunity. It exploded. I connected with people I haven't seen for 40 years and new people and this and that and the other. And it is amazing how many relationships and that's what being an effective commissioner is all about, is relationships. Right. And building on them and, and getting things done. It takes relationships, and leaving that is and leaving some of the a lot of the county staff that I have really built, that I consider family at this point, is a little difficult. So I don't mean to wander off into.
No, you're not. But I was just thinking, I want to have a shout out here to your wonderful wife, Susan. Susan, thank you for sharing Harold with us for 8 years. You get to have him back now, and I know that you guys are going to enjoy some traveling and enjoy life and the grandkids and all that. So, speaking of the term limits, you brought it up briefly, but is 3 terms enough? Is 2 terms enough? I know you struggle a little bit, but
so I've had the opportunity to see for somebody like me, um, two terms is enough. Love them or hate them, Doug and Sarah both have numerous terms. That also brings something to the table. I mean, Doug has relationships with people in Tallahassee, with people in DC. That is enormous value that a two-term commissioner would not have the opportunity to develop. So I'm torn. He brings a lot of stuff to the table that a lot of people don't really realize unless they're actually watching what's going on. He knows everybody.
Right.
And it took him 20 years to know everybody.
Right.
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 And Sarah's got relationships that go back 20 years that bring a lot of value to the job. So,
That's the
do I
flip
believe
side
in
of
term
it. Right.
limits?
Right.
Yeah, kind of. Do I not believe it? Yeah, I'm kind of, I
You're
don't
torn
know.
between
I'm
the
torn.
two.
Yeah. So,
Very interesting. But what I brought you in here today, again, was something I'm very excited to learn more about, and that's affordable housing. That is something that it seems out of reach. It's leaving all of us here in Florida, but here in Martin County in particular, it's a constant drumbeat that we hear. It breaks my heart when I see veterans who have to get roommates, and they can't
right.
even afford a one-bedroom rental. So, Commissioner Jenkins, you brought it up in Indiantown. Share with us your idea how to attack the affordable housing crisis.
So for one, it wasn't my idea. I took the reins. So since I've been a commissioner, 8 years almost, all of us from the dais have said affordable housing is one of our priorities, and we've not yet reached a practical way to even scratch the surface. The cost is outrageous. When you ask a developer, they're just going to simply tell you that it's not cost effective, right? You got to
Right.
have a reason to be in business, and the reason is to make money
That's
for your
right.
stockholders or everything else. And then you have the NIMBYs, so that you do have an opportunity, and then everybody's hair goes on fire because they don't want it in their backyard. There's that. And, and then there's a difference between rental, subsidized rental type situation, or ownership. I am not. So I got excited when I realized there was an opportunity with home ownership. So a normal working class family, the only way they're going to build wealth of any means is through real estate. And so this community land trust affords the opportunity for a family to do just that. The effort was started by the Banner Lake Club in Hope Sound. There is there's some vacant property in that community that became available. The unfortunate, and I preface this, I'm not saying this to be demeaning of anybody, but a lot of the minority family do not put their properties through probate. There's some properties in that community that have 3 generations on the title. The title is so buried with everybody that's got a refrigerator repossessed in a lien on the property that they just can't unbury themselves. So there's some opportunity with some funding to actually clear those titles, and these properties are a liability for these families that can actually turn into an asset, right? So then the land trust can get the property at a decent cost if they pay the legal fees to clear these titles.
Okay.
So that's one of the methods of acquiring the asset. The other is actually purchase, through, taking donations through the land trust, and then the land trust actually does a donation, does a purchase of a property. So we have been I got off track here. Okay, so the Banner Lake Club was attempting to do this. They had acquired some properties. They were trying to actually make themselves an official land trust, and it really couldn't get off the ground because it really needed to be separated.
Okay.
Right? So
Who's funding the land trust?
who's funding the land trust
Right.
at this point right now is my district funds.
Okay.
Okay, so my district funds were the seed money to get the land trust off
Okay.
the ground, to pay the legal fees, to create the documents, to, we have land lease documents, we have corporate documents, we have all this, it takes attorneys and it takes fees to do that.
Sure
So,
does.
and then we had to finally become, which, by the way, a week and a half ago, we finally actually became a 501c3.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is now separate from the Banner Lake Club.
Okay.
Okay. So it's called the Martin County Community Land Trust for a reason. It's going to eventually be countywide. Currently, the Banner Lake community is our first stepping stone because we actually have some asset there,
Okay.
and some potential projects that are coming on, and property is going to be transferred that out of the Banner Lake Club. The county also owns some properties, a piece of property there that we're currently doing some road abandonment and some rezoning that will eventually become an asset of the community land trust.
Okay.
Okay, so the concept of the land trust is the buyer, the family that is in need of housing, that cannot afford traditional home for traditional mortgage to buy a traditional
Okay.
home, would then apply. Currently, we're using Habitat's application process. They have to meet all the requirements of being financially sound and capable of doing it. What happens is the land trust would then enter into a contract. And I'm going to use a $300,000 house, which I heard the other day, the building cost, that's not even practical.
Right.
That's
Anymore.
another one of our biggest challenges. So you have a $300,000 home. $100,000 of that is the dirt. Okay, so the dirt is a lease, a long-term lease. So they're not buying the dirt.
Okay.
Okay. So they're going to build a house. They're now going to build a $200,000 structure that if they meet, because this is kind of a joint venture between Martin County. We have Michelle Miller's department, Health and Human Services, that can process potential grants for a SHIP grant or something else to help. And I keep saying this, I've been saying it for almost a year now. I need to come up with a new word, subsidize. So somebody can help me with coming up with a different word, because that really is a negative word, right?
Right,
But to
right.
help subsidize the building cost by, let's say they get a $50,000 grant
Okay.
that's issued to the land trust.
Okay.
Okay, so now that building cost is subsidized by 50, so now we're down to 150. So then we go to a lending institution. Now, not every lending institution will lend in these circumstances, so it's limited. But let's say they need need $150,000 mortgage. Okay, today's mortgages are 7-8%.
Yes.
So the land trust then has the ability to maybe buy down a couple of points on that,
Okay.
where now they have a $150,000 mortgage that has a little bit of a reduced interest rate, that now they actually have a home that they can move into and live. So let's say 5 years from now, the folks get a better job and they're in a better place financially, and they want to move and a larger family or a larger home or whatever. So now they can put this home on the market, and they can then obviously the trust has the first right of refusal.
Okay.
But let's say they ask market value. Let's say now market value is $400,000.
Okay.
Let's say, which maybe it does.
Real estate goes up. Well,
it
in
does.
Martin County right now, it would.
So they now can leave with whatever they've paid their mortgage down.
Okay.
Right. So whatever they built up, they can leave with. Plus, they can leave with 50% of the appraised value of the home. The other 50% gets reinvested back into the trust. So they actually leave with some appreciation plus whatever skin they've paid down their mortgage. Right?
So they put let's say they put $150,000 into the home. That was their mortgage. Let's say they paid that off completely.
Oh yeah.
They sell the home completely at 400,000.
Right.
So they would get the 150 back.
Right.
Plus
half of the 100, so they
the additional 100, so they get another 50,000
leave
on
with
top of that
$200,000
because the trust put in the initial 300.
And then the next opportunity, all of those opportunities would be passed on to the next buyer.
Okay. Okay. You've started the trust with your district funds. How else are you going to fund this?
Through philanthropy.
Okay.
We were desperately trying, and thank you, Brian Mast and Steve Layton, and I forgot the lady's name that works in their office, for actually putting their hand on the shoulder of whoever's desk it was on in the IRS. We were trying to get our 501c3 prior to season ending, and all of our folks with the big checkbooks leave. But we really, there's a lot of interest. There was a lot of interest, when it was under the Banner Lake Club with Jupiter Island residents, some Sailfish Point folks. I know that when I did my presentation in Indiantown, they are all over this.
Right.
And Josh Pelham of he's what's his development? Okay.
I should know
anyway,
it too, but don't.
Yeah. So they're very enthusiastic about it, and so the I'm rambling here. You can stop me at any second.
No.
But,
No, that was actually kind of my next question. We talked a lot about Banner Lake. You presented in Indiantown, so this is a model that really could be used anywhere in Martin County where it's needed.
It is, and so we are in it is in its infancy at this point right now. We're not prepared to take on a project at all. I mean, we're really just getting all of our documents and all of our stuff in a row, and then starting to acquire some assets to where we can make some offers to the public. But the way I'm envisioning this, and we had a board meeting yesterday that we discussed, is that this would be set up very similar to the way our community redevelopment areas are set up. Our redevelopment thing is set up, CRAs. We have a CRA board that's county-wide that is ultimately responsible for making the direct recommendations to the county for funding this or doing that. But we have our neighborhood advisory boards, right? So we have 6 CRA areas, and each one of them have a NAC, a neighborhood advisory committee. So this would be kind of the same thing. So we'd have a board in Indiantown of 5 people that again would be responsible for identifying the need. Coming up with the money, coming up with the strategy, and that would be presented to the board, and then all the money would be and legal documents and everything would be funneled through the land trust itself. But that Indiantown thing would be operating pretty much independently. Hope Sound would be the same thing. Salerno would be the same thing. Rio or wherever throughout the county we'd have, because the people in Hope Sound don't really know what the needs are in Indiantown, nor how to fund it. Right. So anyway, so that is where we're at right now. We're going to be eventually taking some applications for people that want to sit on those boards, and then eventually the main board will be, which is currently just some movers and shakers in the county that actually we got it done, which is, I'm not even going to try to, I'll forget somebody and then it'll be a bad
You'll
thing.
miss somebody, and right.
But eventually that board's going to evolve into maybe the chairs of these committees, similar to what the CRA is. So.
Karen Hall tuned in and she just said thank you for all your service that you've done.
Oh, thanks.
This is really a huge issue that, congratulations and kudos for picking up the ball and doing something. It's been talked about relentlessly, and it's a tough thing to solve.
It is.
It truly is. And so the trust itself is ran by the county.
No.
It's not.
No, it's a completely independent, freestanding thing. The county, my board has agreed to have staff assist So we have George Stokas that helps us. He usually is in our board meetings. We have obviously my assistant Colleen, which I'm going to miss dearly, by the way, and I will say that publicly. And Michelle Miller's group. So they are the county's. The county has excess property throughout the county that
Okay.
is earmarked for affordable housing.
Okay.
This organization helps them accomplish that.
Got it.
So
This organization can
the-
purchase those properties
right.
from the county.
Well, or the county just turns them over through
Okay.
a process. You know, there's always a process when it comes
Right.
to county.
Right.
And then, and then help us with, grants
Right.
and whatever else and infrastructure, because, obviously the one piece of property in the Banner Lake community's 3.5 acre deal that's going to need some water and sewer and all this other stuff. So the county is going to be an integral part of that, making that happen. So
And the title of the property is going to be in the trust.
right.
The house would be built and mortgaged by the owner, who's ever living in there.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
It
Very
is-
interesting.
It is very interesting. I didn't know the concept existed. Delray has an amazing. I mean, I think their community land trust. It was like $40 million annual budget.
Wow.
I mean, it really, yeah.
Can folks rent their properties out? Is there going to be
You
contingencies
can.
what you can do with
and
that?
and some of the current Banner Lake real estate is rental.
Okay.
We can, and probably are going to do that to a point, but that's not the mainstay of our
Right.
business model.
Will there be any type of requirements of who does own the home? So what I'm getting at is right now there's the own to rent real estate market.
Mm-hmm.
Can those folks that are buying things up specifically to rent it up, it could be corporations coming in, purchase these homes to rent them out?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right.
no. This is
So there'll be some requirements or contingencies on who can purchase that home and
absolutely.
if it is rented.
And currently, those requirements are what Habitat uses,
Okay.
which is extremely, extremely detailed.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jenkins, we've got 5 minutes left. I also have to say, with you leaving your seat, that you had another announcement last week at the Taxpayer Association, an endorsement.
Yes, I did. I wasn't going to at first. Then I realized I have known Susan for. I went to high school with Susan. We won't talk about what year.
A couple years ago, Susan
Yes,
Gibbs Thomas.
and I obviously Indiantown is in my district, and I have attended almost every. Well, I have attended every council meeting that I could possibly attend. That's my job. I've watched Susan evolve, like myself, because she was elected basically the same time I was. I've not agreed with everything Susan's done, nor do I have to.
Right.
But what I can tell you is that she understands community. She understands Martin County. She obviously understands Indiantown. And she is a good human being, right? And that's really all it takes in my mind. I need somebody that I can work with in the future. I don't, my crowd down south was kind of the rabble rousers between me and Harry and Pat Martin and the whole group of us. I intend to still be that way. The CRAs are really my big deal. I need somebody that I can work with, and I feel very confident that I can work with Susan. Right?
That's
So,
fantastic. So even though you're not running for commission again, you're still going to be involved. You're not just leaving
Oh
the
no, I'm not
community.
going anywhere.
And he has been a rebel
yeah,
rouser.
yeah.
It's been a lot of fun to
Yeah.
have somebody that is just
Yeah.
completely blatantly honest
Yeah,
up there
I
on the
just-
dais.
yeah.
You don't guard your words. You
I
say
don't.
what's on your mind, and
I-
that's
I-
a rarity in
Yeah,
politics.
I really don't care what people think. So if they don't like me, they don't like me. So it's just the way it is.
Well, I definitely, there's so much more to talk about. We only have 3 minutes. Let me bring up real quick, of course, the vote next week, the rural lifestyle amendment. What's kind of going on there?
Well, I keep reading these emails, and let's be brutally honest. You can build 600 homes on that property today. today on water and I mean on well and septic.
Okay.
Today. That's a
Today.
fact.
Yep.
Okay. Please don't approve these 170 homes because additional traffic and all this other stuff. I'm sorry. You can already, let's
Build
get this straight. You
600.
can already build 600 homes there. So now rural lifestyle gives them the ability. Now I voted against it for a procedural reason I'd rather not get into.
We only
all
have
right?
2 minutes. Don't worry. We
Okay.
won't.
So, but it's 170 homes, I believe, right? On water, on sewer, right? And you've got well over 1,500 acres of wetlands that's going to be preserved by one entity rather than dividing all of that up into 20 acres. I just don't get it. I get why I objected to it legally because I would have rathered it just be
Right.
rural lifestyle rather than exception to rural lifestyle. Period. That's why I voted against it. It's a fantastic project.
Again,
So-
folks, I think that's really, you just cut to the chase.
Right. You can dance around.
Right
Everybody,
now, you
these
can have
damn
600 homes,
politicians-
and
yeah.
you're talking 170, and
Right.
then you're putting land in perpetuity into
Right.
conservation.
Right. And it's off the market for the future. It's off
Forever.
the market.
Right.
Right.
That land.
Atlantic Fields is off the market. That 1,500 acres is off the market. That could be 3,000 homes
Right.
tomorrow with a
Right.
different commission. But it's off the market.
That's right.
So
It's things to keep in mind, and with the rural lifestyle amendment, you don't have a lot of roads that are now going to be transecting because of the cluster housing. So I've had Paul Laura here that we talked about it a lot. If folks want to go back and listen to that, he's very supportive
Yes.
of the rural
Yeah,
lifestyle
absolutely.
as well. But that's coming up next week.
Yep.
And Commissioner Jenkins, again, it's been a true pleasure to have you here in the studio again, and it's been fun. Like I said, I remember you coming in as a candidate, and here
yeah.
you are leaving chair of the county commission.
yeah, well, there you go.
And we're glad to have you still around, though, and helping
I'll-
with the CRAs and
I'll
the
still be
affordable
here.
housing.
Yeah.
Very, very important. So,
Good.
very good. Thank you so
All right.
much, Commissioner Jenkins.
Cool.
And we wish you well. We'll see you around. And other than that, we're going to have a lot more shows coming up, a lot more Meet Your Candidates coming up every Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Cool.